Welcome to 10-Minute Type Advice by Personality Hacker. I'm Joel Witt.
And I'm Antonia Dodge.
This show features questions from the Personality Hacker community that we answer in about 10 minutes. We've been using personality types in our coaching for years, and we'd love to answer your questions about personal growth through the lens of type. You can find out more about us at personalityhacker.com. Okay, now let's hear today's question.
Hi, Joel and Antonia. My name is Rosa. I'm an INFP, Spanish, but I live in Tokyo. I have a question regarding the development of extroverted intuition for INFP people. I consider myself a very curious person. I love learning about new things and also traveling. From what I understand about extroverted intuition, this could be a good sign, but instead of that, I normally feel frustrated because there are too many things I'm interested about, and I fail to choose and focus on one thing where I can develop my skills. I normally feel like a jack of all trades when the type of people that I admire the most are those who are really proficient at something. I was wondering whether my understanding of exploration and how to develop it might not be correct, or whether it is more a matter of changing this ideal image I have of the truly developed person as someone who is a master of one single thing. Thank you. Love your podcast.
Thanks, Rosa, for the question. So, I'm going to kind of boil this down to ask it this way. How does an INFP like yourself grow or develop your exploration, your co-pilot as an INFP, without feeling scattered, without feeling like you're not making progress and you can create mastery? Because, so as an INFP, with INFP preferences, this is a very important part of your life. This exploration is your co-pilot. As you know, Rosa, I'm just saying this also for other people, other INFPs that might be listening. This is the auxiliary or co-pilot of an INFP, and it is really the avenue of growth. An INFP has introverted preferences, right? Introvert. This puts you in the outer world. It starts to expand the framework. It starts to look at all the possibilities for your life and all the combinations. Like, what if I combine this with this? What would happen? What if I did that? What if I explored this area? What if I didn't have to start from where I thought I had to start from, and I could do it a different way, or I could disrupt the process that's already been in play and see what new possibility comes from that. So it's a lot of possibility. It's got carbonation for an INFP's life. It brings joy and joie de vivre, and it just encourages you to explore your world. And embedded in your question is like, well, if I'm doing that, that's chaos. There's nothing to show for that. I'm not creating mastery or a body of work. I'm just opening up loops all over the place. I'm throwing spaghetti against the wall metaphorically, and I'm creating messes everywhere. That's not good, right? How can I develop that part of me without leaving a trail of tears behind me or suffering or just messes all the time?
Yeah, we might be taking a little creative license with our question.
Sure.
But I
think that could be a general INFP question.
It could be, for sure. I actually think Rosa's on the other side of some of this. I think when an INFP or somebody with INP preferences resists developing extroverted intuition or exploration, that's usually when they fear it's going to make them scattered, so they say they lean back. It feels to me like, based on what Rosa was saying, I think she's actually done a fair bit of extroverted intuition growth already. Like, she's in a different country than her native country. She loves to travel and to learn things. And I think what I'm hearing too is that she's like, am I limiting myself by thinking that growth and development means being a specialist? That's what I heard too. Yeah. It's like, if I develop this, I feel like I'm open-minded. I feel like I'm open in traveling. I feel like I'm exploring new ideas. But is it making me go too wide? That's kind of what I heard. And so I think what you're asking, Joel, I think that's also a piece of it, which is, will it undermine me? Will it disrupt my routines too much? Will it make me feel, will I become actually more scattered as a person? But what I'm hearing is, am I also limiting myself by seeing myself as a jack of all trades? Like, am I supposed to be a specialist? So there's two things coming up for me. The first one is, you might be limiting yourself. Your 10-year-old or tertiary function of introverted sensing or memory, this is a function that usually aligns itself to specializing, right? Introverted sensing or memory is one of the specialist functions, which is, I'm going to focus on one thing and I'm going to get very good at it over time. And And it's not just in competence and capacity, but it's just kind of like in grabbing a bunch of institutional knowledge around something. So that function might feel a little uncertain when it sees a jack of all trades situation, when it goes, I might not be, like other people might be judging me for not being a specialist. Other people might not think that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. If I'm really getting in the energy of mastery, doesn't that mean I'm supposed to be focusing on one thing and getting all of this institutional knowledge about one thing? So yes, you may be limiting yourself, and not because, not just because of societal messages, but because your 10-year-old or tertiary function, Dr. John Beebe aligns it with eternal child energy. It is the first time we're uncertain, but we calm our uncertainty when it comes to our functions, but we calm our uncertainty down by getting outer world feedback. And this function in this position is particularly susceptible to the message of specialization, right? Like you're supposed to be a specialist, otherwise you're doing it wrong. So I would say, yes, there is some of that going on, most likely. That said, on the flip side, if you have done sufficient work in extroverted intuition or exploration, and by sufficient, I mean, this is the function that carries with it parenting energy, meaning that this is how you show up and offer to the world. This is how you show up with a sense of responsibility, weirdly enough. And by responsibility, there are certain people who are designed, pre-wired to be disruptors, to model what it looks like to not follow the status quo, to go out and explore a bigger world and see connections that other people miss. Like that's part of your responsibility. It's part of what you give to the world, is to be a model of a disruptor, right? Like an energy that's willing to walk your own path. And if you're already doing that, if you're already finding yourself in a big world, that you're not limiting yourself to single possibilities, that you are seeing a world of possibilities and doing a bunch of like being a disruptor and modeling that. At a certain point, you can weave your introverted sensing or memory in there to go, okay, of the patterns I've seen, of the bigger world that I've lived, of this sort of like not living the templatized life and doing a bigger thing, what of those should I now be turning into a routine or rhythm? What should I be now, not just quote unquote specializing, but what should I be getting roots around?
What do I capture and produce around?
Exactly. And so developing the co-pilot isn't the last phase. It's the first phase. It's not the only work we have to do. It's just the first work we have to do. And an easier way of saying this is, if this is the function that carries parental energy, think of it in terms of, am I self-parenting with this? Am I only using this function when other people show up and I want to model for them what it looks like to like think outside the box and brainstorm and go travel and see a bigger picture and cross-pollinate ideas and see a vision for somebody's life? Am I only using it in behalf of others, or am I doing it for myself on a regular basis? Is this part of how I live life? Is self-parenting and showing up with a sense of responsibility around me seeing a bigger picture, me living a bigger life, not being constrained by templates or the status quo? And if the answer is yes, I have done the work of routinely self-parenting with this function, well, now you're ready to move on to the next phase. And the next phase is incorporating that introverted sensing of memory, of going, okay, maybe I could be a specialist, or maybe I could lay roots somewhere, or maybe I could turn this into more of a routine and have some discipline around that. And that's if you're at that point in your development, that is a totally valid next step.
Yeah, I like to see, to piggyback off, I'm not addressing exactly what you talked about, Antonia, but I like to see in an INFP's personality, the co-pilot and the 10-year-old. These are polarity opposites of each other. When you have one, you have the other. So extroverted intuition or exploration, you're always going to have introverted sensing or memory on the other side, no matter which side is up, which side is down. It's like a coin. I like to see introverted sensing or memory almost like a weight, like a paperweight or some kind of a weight that holds, like it's got substance to it. It's grounded and it can sit on the ground. And sometimes I like to see extroverted intuition, not always, but often, as like a balloon, like a helium balloon tethered to that weight. And what's interesting is, I think NFPs, but INFPs in particular, and NTPs also, but let's just talk about INFP because that's the type you are, Rosa. It's almost like the ballast, that introverted sensing or weight that's on the ground could be the mastery. It's the framework of the mastery, and it's grounded, and it's stable. And then the helium balloon can be extended, and it can float and pick up new experiences and new patterns. The wind can blow it really far to the side. You could give longer string to let it go up higher to reach different heights. Like, it has more flexibility to go and explore. And you could almost see it when you create a mastery framework of a ballast. Like, okay, all of this is for a purpose. It's all coming down to a capture area. Like, I'm capturing it with the weight that's grounded. And this allows you kind of like a visual almost. Like, oh, I could create I could draw a circle around this subject matter, and then I let my intuition go free inside the circle of that subject matter. Like, let's say it's photography. Let's just say you really wanted to master photography. Well, you draw a circle around photography, and you say, okay, I want to master photography, maybe analog and digital photography, and I want to explore all the aspects of photography, tintype, having a darkroom, having digital, having like a pinhole camera, having a big giant view camera with a hood over my head like Ansel Adams used to use, or a small digital quick camera or a Polaroid camera. Like, there's all sorts of aspects in exploration inside the framework of photography. Photography is the weight, the introverted sensing weight, or the category. And then the extroverted intuition or the exploration just flows, and it picks up all the learning that fits in that category. That's one way to think about it. That if you did want to create mastery, I think that's how I would frame it in my head of what I'm actually doing with all of this, all these processes.
Yeah. Introverted sensing or memory is an important function for an INFP. The danger is when you are using it instead of your intuition.
Yeah.
When you're bypassing your intuition.
When you snip the balloon wire and you let that float up into space, you just stay with the paperweight on the ground.
Yep.
You're going to have a very diminished life.
Yes.
And you're probably going to lose energy, and you're going to feel worse every year that passes.
Yeah. But getting that tension right, like Joel talks about, like getting that dynamic between the two functions balanced for you, that's important work. So make sure that you are incorporating your sensing as well.
Thanks, Rosa, for the question. You can ask your own question about personality types or personal growth. Visit personalityhacker.com/questions. We also have programs designed to help you with your personal growth through the lens of personality types. Again, visit personalityhacker.com and find the program that's made just for you. My name is Joel Mark Witt.
And I'm Antonia Dodge.
Thank you for listening to 10-Minute Type Advice by Personality Hacker. We'll talk with you on the next episode. Hey, it's Joel from Personality Hacker. So a big reason people get into personality types is usually to improve their relationships with other people. And you can understand key differences between you and someone else when you understand how type works. So clearly, personality type is applied to relationships. But what about the relationship with yourself? Well, personality type can also help you navigate your career, or maybe an educational path that you need to follow, or other opportunities that present themselves, and it helps you know which are the right choice for you. And ultimately, personality is the key to unlocking identity-level worldview and life purpose. It all starts with getting the owner's manual for your personality type. In this owner's manual, we cover the basics of your personality. And then we dive a layer deeper to connect your personality to your relationships, your career, your worldview, and identity. Because we believe it's your life, and it should be designed for your personality. So start your owner's manual journey at personalityhacker.com. When you access your owner's manual, I recommend focusing on the ideal day exercise first. Because when you start crafting your ideal day, you're being mindful about the type of lifestyle that you want. So designing a life around how you're naturally wired makes sense, and you can finally stop fighting yourself. So come discover and develop your unique personality at personalityhacker.com.